Welcome to our explainer on multi-state fundraising compliance. Today, we're tackling a really big question for any growing nonprofit. What are the real costs involved? Let's break it all down.
Just so you know, this educational resource is provided by the great team over at Ironwood Registrations. Okay, let's dive right in. This is probably one of the most common questions nonprofits have when they start looking into charitable solicitation registration. It's a very straightforward question, right? How much is this actually going to cost us? Well, the answer, and you probably saw this coming, isn't just a single number. Because these registration requirements are handled by each individual state, the total cost can swing pretty dramatically. It really all depends on where your organization is fundraising. So, to get a really clear picture, we need to look at 5 key pieces of the puzzle. We'll start with state filing fees, then dig into financial statement requirements and the internal administrative costs. After that, we'll see exactly why these costs vary so much, and we'll wrap up with how you can actually plan for it all. All right, let's kick things off with the most direct expense: state filing fees. These are the fees set by each state for your initial registration and then for your annual renewals.
Now, these fees can be all over the place. For most organizations, you're going to see a range anywhere from $0, yep, some states are free, to about $400 per state each year. Just keep in mind, if your annual revenue is up over $5 million, that number can definitely climb even higher in a few states.
And it's not always a simple flat fee either. Some states get a lot more detailed. They might base the fee on your nonprofit's total annual revenue, or maybe just the contributions you received, or even your specific fundraising activities. This is a huge reason why the total can seem so unpredictable when you first look at it.
So, what does this look like in the real world? Let me give you a quick example. A nonprofit that has about $2 million in annual contributions and registers in all the required states, well, they'll often see their total state filing fees alone come in at over $2,000 a year. Okay, on to the second cost factor, the financial statement requirements. You can kind of think of this as the cost of being transparent and accountable. You see, states have this sort of tiered system for financial transparency, and it almost always ties back to your contribution levels. So for smaller organizations, statements you prepare internally might be totally fine. But as you grow, states might ask for reviewed financials from a CPA. And then for the larger nonprofits, the requirement is often a full-blown audit by an independent CPA. And yeah, a full audit can be a pretty big expense. We're talking $10,000, easily, sometimes more. But here's the thing you have to remember. For a lot of nonprofits, this isn't a new cost just for compliance. It's often an expense they already have for things like grants or just good board governance. So they're just using that same audit for their state filings. Next up, let's talk about a cost that isn't so much about paying fees, but more about your team's time and effort. And that's the internal administrative cost of just managing this whole process. This is really where the soft costs of your team's hours come into play. If you're handling this in-house, somebody has to be responsible for gathering all the documents, filling out dozens of unique forms, tracking every single state's renewal deadline, and then dealing with any questions from regulators. It's a lot. And that's exactly why many organizations choose to just outsource this to a firm that specializes in it. It takes that burden off the team and frees them up to focus on the mission. So, what does it cost to outsource? Well, if you're registering in all the states that require it, you can generally expect to pay a compliance provider somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000 to $10,000 a year. You're really investing in their specialized expertise and, of course, their efficiency. Okay, so we've looked at all the different pieces. Now let's pull it all together and talk about why the total cost of compliance can be so different from one nonprofit to the next. It really just boils down to these 4 main things. First, how many states are you actually soliciting in? Second, what are your annual revenue or contribution levels looking like? Third, what kind of financial statements are you required to submit? And finally, how complex is it going to be to manage all those different filings and deadlines? Now that you know what those factors are, you can start to get ahead of the game. So let's talk about how you can plan for these costs with a proactive approach that really works with your fundraising strategy, not against it. The best way to do it is with a proactive 4-step process. First up, you have to identify every single state where you're fundraising. Then, you evaluate which of those states actually require you to register. Third, you've got to get a real handle on all the unique renewal deadlines and reporting rules for each state. And finally, based on all of that, you can figure out what resources you need to allocate, whether that's staff time or budget for outsourcing. So let's wrap this up.
You've got state filing fees, financial reporting, and the administrative workload all playing a part in that total cost. By really understanding these factors early on, you can build compliance right into your fundraising strategy from the get-go. And remember, this isn't just about checking off boxes. It's about protecting your organization's reputation and making sure you can keep funding your amazing mission no matter where you operate.